Welcome to Dashing Dish. Protein may be the latest craze, but with Dashing Dish recipes and in my personal life, I have always added protein because I've learned the benefits to nourishing our bodies, and it really is simple and makes you feel your very best. Our protein shortcut menu includes creamy chicken broccoli rice bake, a hearty dish with 30 grams of protein, cozy and guilt-free protein hot chocolate, warm, comforting, and packed with goodness, cottage cheese egg salad, a deliciously nutritious twist on a classic, 5-minute cheesecakes, perfectly portioned with 14 grams of protein in every bite. I'm Katie Farrell. We're sharing protein-packed shortcuts that are easy and satisfying. Well, today's show is all about protein shortcuts. We're going to teach you guys how you can add protein into just about any meal, snack, dessert, you name it. There's simple and easy ways you can add some more protein throughout your day. My sister Emily is joining me, and we're all about protein, aren't we?
We sure are.
We're the protein queens. And I would say the reason that we are so into protein is because we have learned to listen to our bodies, and we've learned that it really does make you feel better when you add protein to every meal and snack.
Yeah, for sure. I think it actually, we both tend to have low blood sugar, so we've had to learn to add protein and limit sugar. So even though it's not always fun to have, low blood sugar, it's actually has forced us to learn how to feed our bodies.
Yeah, that's true. And we're gonna start with a dinner recipe. You could have this for lunch or even breakfast if you were so inclined, but it is more of a dinner style recipe that has a ton of protein, and it's so easy to make, which is always a win. It's a chicken cheddar broccoli bake that we're gonna add some rice to. And what I love about it is most of these casserole type dishes use cream of whatever soup. So celery, cream of chicken, all of that. I don't even know what's in those, but I will say when you open it up and you just look at it, you just know something's not right.
It doesn't look natural.
But a lot of times that's how people just, that's how they learn to cook or bake, and just with using their grandma's recipes that has all of that. So I'm gonna teach you to do a protein-packed version of that cream of whatever it may be. For this recipe, you'll need 2 cups of Greek yogurt, 1 cup of cottage cheese, 1 cup of shredded cheese, 1 cup of chicken broth, 4 cups of cooked chicken, 2 cups of quick cook rice, 12 ounces of broccoli, and for the topping, you'll need 1 cup of shredded cheese. You can go ahead and add some broccoli, some cooked chicken, and then just some rice to a baking dish. Okay. We're gonna add it all to the baking dish, so it's just easy.
That's easy.
And I will say when it comes to the rice, what you wanna look for is quick cooking rice. So this is 90-second cooking rice. Okay. So it's already pre-cooked to some degree, but you don't wanna steam it, you don't wanna microwave it, you just wanna add it just as is.
That seems so easy.
Quick cooking, but don't pre-cook. Add it just like it is.
I could even do this.
Yes, anyone can do this, I'm telling you.
This is like a quick, option for dinner when you just don't know what to make, because probably you have like this already in your pantry. You can use like frozen chicken that you just put in a crock pot, and then frozen broccoli. I mean, it seems pretty simple, quick weeknight dinner that you don't have to do a lot of prep for.
Yes, and you could even buy a rotisserie chicken.
That's so too.
But what I like to do is I like to cook a ton of chicken in my crock pot, and I just add it all to the crock pot with some chicken broth and then shred it up, and I freeze half of it so that I have cooked chicken for another recipe. Are my sleeves getting in there? I can't wear bat wing sleeves when I'm cooking. I've learned. It becomes a part of the meal. Okay, so we're gonna add our Greek yogurt, our cottage cheese, and our shredded cheese to the blender. And then to help blend it up and also give it a lot of that cream of chicken flavor, we're gonna add some chicken broth. And that's all there is to this creamy part that is also packed with protein because we have our Greek yogurt, and our cottage cheese. So we're gonna just blend this up. Okay, so you'll want to blend that just until it's nice and smooth. Now you will still have some pieces of cheese kind of speckled in there, and that's actually delicious and good. Perfect, that's what you want. So then we're gonna just pour this over the chicken and the rice and the broccoli, and then you want to scrape it a little bit to get it all out. And then you can kind of just combine it. Like just take your spatula and just kind of fold it in there. Make sure that it's all really well incorporated as best as you can.
So this is definitely high protein with the cottage cheese and the Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
It's like double whammy plus the chicken.
Yes,
And
totally.
nutritious with the broccoli.
Yes.
I could see my kids really like this.
And I will say a lot of people may not even realize that they do have blood sugar sensitivity.
Yeah.
I would say that actually probably most people do. They just don't know it.
Ignore it.
Yeah, they just feel tired or slumps in the middle of their day. That's your blood sugar. So essentially, you don't have to have diabetes to have blood sugar sensitivity. It is just probably most likely from all of our fast-paced lifestyle, high stress, high cortisol, and also
Lack of protein.
Yes, lack of protein. A lot of processed foods and sugars will do it to you. Also, hormones that are out of balance and out of whack can cause blood sugar sensitivity because insulin is a hormone. So a lot of times what happens is when we eat, our blood sugar is sky high, rockets up like on a roller coaster, and then it comes straight back down.
Yeah.
So if you've ever felt really tired, like midday or like between breakfast and lunch, that is essentially what's going on, is your blood sugar is just taking a dip. So instead of just fueling it with more coffee or caffeine or sugar, having a little bit of protein balanced out also with fiber can help your blood sugar. And a lot of times it's that simple. People just don't realize that that's what's going on.
And we've always been really big into carrying around protein snacks. Since we were probably young teenagers.
Yeah.
So we always had protein bars or, cheese sticks. Like we just have always kept high protein snacks with us because we know that feeling.
Yeah.
And so we've been ready to combat it.
That's true.
To just kind of boost our blood sugar. And a lot of time people wait. And then they're so hungry, their blood sugar has completely dropped.
Yeah.
And that's why meal planning and having like high protein snacks in between your meals is really important.
Yes, true. Okay, so now you'll want to cover this with foil and you want to bake it in a preheated oven, 425 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes. Then you'll want to take the foil off and bake it for another 10 to melt that cheese on top. It's going to be so good. All right, so now I'm going to show you how you can add protein to even sweet treats. So this is a protein hot chocolate. This hot chocolate has 22 grams of protein, which I think is pretty amazing for hot chocolate. So you can even get it in your treats, in your snacks, even in your drinks. For this recipe, you'll need 1 cup of milk, 1/4 cup of protein powder, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 1 tablespoon of sweetener, and 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. So all we did is we heated up 1 cup of milk. Now, it just is gonna be heated to your liking, so whatever temperature you would drink hot chocolate at, that's where you wanna get it to that warmth. And I just did it in the microwave, but you could do it on a stovetop as well. Then we add the protein powder, and that is where you're gonna get your protein in this hot chocolate. The reason that we're gonna blend this up is just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Actually, protein powder, depending on the kind that you buy, does blend really well with warm liquids, and so you won't even know what's in there. If you buy the wrong kind of protein powder, it might be a little bit chalky tasting, so make sure you get one that you really like and blends really well. Then I'm just adding our cocoa powder, some sweetener, and vanilla extract. So this recipe is super simple. I made this recipe after I created it all winter long. So every time it was chilly outside, I was making this for my midday snack. Okay, so you're gonna blend it just until everything is nice and smooth. And then it's ready to serve. And this is definitely a treat when you want some chocolate, but you also need to get your protein fix in. This is a great way to do it. You can see how rich and creamy that is. If you want, you could even add a little bit of whipped cream on top. It is the perfect high protein decadent treat. Coming up next, this is a creamy high protein twist on the classic dish of a traditional egg salad. A surprise ingredient adds a creamy texture without the extra calories of mayo. Packed with protein, it's a delicious and nutritious choice for a satisfying snack or make-ahead meal. So now we're gonna make a high protein lunch. This is something that I like to make at the beginning of the week, and I have it all throughout the week. So it really does stay good in your fridge for about 5 days. It is a hard-boiled egg salad using cottage cheese. So the cottage cheese is where we add even more protein. Eggs do have a lot of protein, however, the yolk itself is actually a healthy fat. So most of the protein is in the egg white. For this recipe, you'll need 4 hard-boiled eggs, 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, 1 tablespoon of honey mustard, 2 chopped pickles, 1/8 teaspoon of paprika, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, and 1 chopped green onion. So when we have 4 eggs like we're using here, it has a good amount of protein, but we can definitely bump it up. So that's what we're gonna do with the cottage cheese. The cottage cheese also makes it creamier and richer, which is always really good with an egg salad. So I'm grating the hard-boiled eggs. This is kind of a new technique that I just recently learned, and I prefer it way more than just chopping my eggs. So if you have a cheese grater at home, try this out. It is so good, and it makes the egg texture just that much better when you're having a hard-boiled egg salad. So when I was working as a labor and delivery nurse years and years ago, I think it was about 15 years ago, and that was before I ever started to really make recipes full time, I used to go into the library and I would study nutrition because it was such an interest of mine. And if you've ever heard my eating disorder recovery story, a big part of really healing was when I started to learn how to properly fuel my body. So I would go into the library at the hospital during my breaks, and I would research all that I could about nutrition using the hospital research books and the computer archives, anything that I could get my hands on to learn more about nutrition. That was where I was during my breaks. And I really did enjoy studying and learning about how our bodies work. And one of the things that I really feel like I learned was just through testing and experimenting everything I was researching. And one of the things that I began to learn about that really transformed how I felt was learning about blood sugar and insulin control. And I remember thinking that that was just something that really you only had to pay attention to if you, let's say, had diabetes. But the more that I learned that insulin is a hormone, that all of us have to regulate it in order to feel our very best, that was when I started to use oat flour. So that was the very beginning of me making oat flour. And this is before you could ever buy oat flour in stores. No recipe websites had it that I'm aware of. I just started to learn how whole grains, which have a lot of fiber, and any kind of protein that's added to it helps balance out your blood sugar. So I took oats and I added them to a blender and I made flour out of it. And that's when I started to make muffins and baked goods using oats. And that fiber alongside of protein, and usually I use Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, protein powder, wherever I can get a protein source in there, that's when I started to feel the very best, was when I was making my baked goods with fiber and protein. So that whole journey began years and years ago when I just started learning more about the body and doing research. And so I would encourage you, if you feel like there's any area of your health that you really want to improve, start doing research. And it's amazing how God created our bodies. They are so intricate, and He created us so wonderfully made that there are so many ways that we can heal our bodies just naturally using the things that God created for us. So a lot of times I think we're kind of quick to run to a doctor or an expert to tell us what to do about our bodies. But the more that we know and we educate ourselves, the better we can also help our body's healing process along and help them work the best that they possibly can. And that was probably one of my greatest lessons that I took when I walked away from nursing, was all of the research that I had done on my own and just learning how our bodies work. That was always and still is such a great passion of mine, just to learn that our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we can do so many wonderful things to help support them. So we're just gonna stir this all up. You can add salt, pepper, paprika to taste. So the seasonings are definitely to your taste. I don't have honey mustard, but I do have mustard, so I added that instead. So if you don't have honey mustard, mustard works great. And then pickles are definitely optional. So there is a lot of salt with the cottage cheese. So if you don't like things too salty, maybe leave those out until the very end. Taste it and see if you want to add them. And then I also have a green onion here. So we'll probably put this on a piece of whole grain toast, and then I'll chop some of the green onion on top as a garnish, and that will be an absolutely delicious lunch that's really high in protein. So in addition to making recipes that are high in protein, there are really simple ways to add protein throughout your day with just simple swaps and snacks. So I'm gonna show you some of my favorite ways to get protein in throughout the day. So I like to add Greek yogurt and cottage cheese wherever and whenever I can, because they're both really high in protein. So I like to blend them up and put them in sauces or dips. I also like to have them just as a snack. So I add frozen berries to yogurt, and I have that for breakfast or even a snack throughout my day. Cottage cheese I blend up and I put into smoothies and shakes in the morning, and also for snacks, and that's really a great way to get protein. I like to make sure that I'm getting any kind of product that I'm buying already made, and I look for ones that are high in protein. So bagels. Look for high protein bagels. There are some brands, this one has 10 grams of protein for one bagel. I also like to hard boil my own eggs. If you don't have the time to do that, there's often hard boiled eggs that you can just buy in a package, and that way you can add them to an egg salad or another type of salad, and they're great just for snacking as well. I also love to add protein powder and peanut flour to a ton of my recipes. You can also just sprinkle them into things like cereal. You can even put them over your popcorn and just shake it up. So you're adding protein wherever you're snacking. And last but not least, these are two that my kids absolutely love: string cheese or any kind of cheese, and beef sticks. So there are a ton of beef sticks that are coming on the market now that have really clean ingredients, and these are two ways that you can get protein in, especially when kids are running around. And I really have found that kids can be a struggle when it comes to protein. Maddie was the hardest to get to eat protein because she really didn't like meat for the first 5 years of her life. I tried and tried and tried all different ways to get her to eat meat, and she just would not. She did not like it. And I've talked to many moms that have said the same. So what I did for her as she was growing up in those first 5 years is I added protein powder or peanut flour to whatever I could. So wherever and however I could get some of these ingredients, these are really good ways to add protein to your meals, your snacks for your kids, and also yourself. Coming up next, these 5-minute cheesecakes are easy to make. High protein and perfectly portioned in just minutes. You can enjoy this creamy, indulgent treat that's packed with 14 grams of protein and only 140 calories. Okay, well, my sister and I are gonna make a dessert that's protein packed, 5-minute protein cheesecakes. So this is gonna be something, if you love cheesecake, you're gonna make this again and again. You do not have to bake anything. It's not this long, tedious process with cheesecakes that you have to do, and it's packed with protein. For this recipe, you'll need 1 cup of cottage cheese, 1 cup of Greek yogurt, 1/4 cup of sweetener, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 4 sheets of graham crackers. So to make the cheesecake base or layer, we're gonna add cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and sweetener, as well as some vanilla extract to a blender. And I'm gonna blend this up. And you can take some graham crackers and kind of break them up, chop them down.
Make it into pine powder.
Yes.
Pine powder. Fine powder.
We're clearly needing some protein right now in order to do this.
You know who loves cheesecake? Brett.
Yes.
Obsessed. I need to make this for him. Because true fact, I have never made an actual cheesecake.
You haven't?
Never, because it's so intimidating.
The
water bath.
It is a.
No, thank you. I don't have time for that.
It is more of an extensive process than a cake or any other dessert.
Yeah.
Really.
Ooh. Well, I mean, this looks like something I could do at home.
Definitely.
Graham cracker? Yes.
Graham
Get your
cracker
frustration out right here at the husband you'll be serving.
That's right. You know, speaking of, have you ever been in a fight with Brett? I'm sure you have, after being married for 10 years?
Oh, they're not fights. They're, what do we call them? Strong disagreements.
Okay, whatever you call them. I call them fights. Do you have any fights with Brett when you're cooking for him? Have you ever?
I always think of Joyce Meyer if I do. She always talks about how you serve through gritted teeth, but then you pretend you're serving Jesus and it helps.
Yes, that's what I was actually just gonna say.
I stole your story.
Yes, you did.
Shoot.
Well, we're on the same
We
accord.
are.
We're
I
in
think we've heard that same sermon.
Yes, maybe we talked about it together.
Yeah.
But that is true. Because I am cooking a lot. That is one of the things that's happened quite frequently during our arguments is I happen to also be cooking.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I want to do in my flesh is to cook a meal for someone who is being what I think is mean to me. And fights are always two-sided, but usually you feel like you're always the right one in the moment, right? So I'll be cooking and I'm just like, he can make his own food. But it is true, I always think I'm gonna do this unto the Lord, and I'm cooking for Jesus right now, not Sean. I'm cooking for Jesus. So that usually helps. And then what do you know? Doing something kind for someone, it changes everything.
It does.
It changes everything. Okay, so you just want to blend that up until it's nice and smooth. And it's pretty easy to blend up. And then you can take the graham crackers, and what you can do is you could just trim the end off, like the corner, with some kitchen scissors, and then that way it's just easier to kind of
pour it in without making a big mess. I like it. Are we layering these, or is just all at the bottom?
Just all at the bottom.
Okay.
But you could layer it, and that would actually be really good. But whenever I'm making something that's like for a party or like something that's really beautiful and you just want it to be really nicely presented, I do the Ziploc bag trick so that it's very clean in there. But otherwise, you can, if you're just eating at home, you can just dump it in a cup. Okay.
Do you want me to cut some of these?
Yes, and then you can cut some strawberries up, and that's gonna be a cute little topping on there and also really delicious. Do you like cheesecake?
It's okay. It's not like what I'd reach for. I mean, if it was
like
in front of me, I'd eat it. Like, let's be real. But like, if you can add some peanut butter and chocolate to the cheesecake, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's true. We're peanut butter chocolate girls.
We are.
Through and through. But I do like cheesecake, and this is a really nice way to add protein with your dessert because it's Greek yogurt and cottage cheese adds a ton of protein. And it doesn't taste like cottage cheese. It doesn't taste like Greek yogurt. So if you're someone that's like, I just can't do yogurt, I can't do cottage cheese, I promise you, this tastes just like cheesecake. It is a nice, smooth filling. As long as you blend it up really well, you won't know that there's cottage cheese in there. And look at how cute those look.
They're so cute.
So you could make these for like a baby shower or any kind of girls' party where you just want a really pretty little dessert. You could even do like a little sprig of mint on the side. That's and cute. Just make them really pretty.
I feel like these you could easily make a head. You just put a lid on them and then put them in the fridge for
like a meal prep.
Literally
dessert.
A snack.
Yeah.
This does not have to be a dessert.
Yeah,
that's so high protein.
Yes.
This could be a A midday snack.
Yes.
I'm feeling it.
And I did give these to Ollie one time, and he thought it was ice cream.
Oh.
So, I mean, it passes the 2-year-old test, which moms of toddlers know what that's a big feat. So the fact that he was like, he wanted more of it, and he thought it was ice cream, it really does speak to how delicious and creamy and smooth they turn out.
I'm definitely going to be making these at home.
Yes, so let's pop these in the fridge, and then let's go and try out some of our other high protein snacks and meals that we've made today, because I definitely need to pick me up.
I do too.
Well, Em, I had so much fun making our protein-packed meals and treats today. You're my protein girl.
You always count on me.
Well, actually, she always counts on me because whenever she needs a snack or we're out somewhere, she says, "What do you got with protein?"
Yeah, we call her the Girl Scout in the family. You always are prepped.
That's true. You always got to have some protein on hand. You never know when you might need it.
True.
So all of these delicious high-protein recipes were so easy to make today, and it really is so easy to get satisfying protein into your diet. For all of these recipes and more, you can head over to dashingdish.com, where you'll find recipes and more to nourish your body and soul.